This is a smoke break with Spaceman Jones. Proudly sponsored by Earthy Now and Urban Combat Wrestling.
All right, everybody, how y'all doing this morning? This is Spaceman Jones with a smoke break, and I'm on today with a bright young black mind, my main man out of Charlotte, North Carolina, super producer Simon something, man. How you doing this morning, Simon?
I'm pretty good, all things considered. Hanging in there. How about yourself?
I'm feeling okay, man. You know, getting my coffee in this morning. Thankful to be alive. Grateful. Um, we like to start out the Smoke Break podcast with 10 breaths to kind of ground and center us, kind of bring some spirit into the conversation, man. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna sit here, we're gonna count off 10 breaths, and I implore everybody who's watching, who's tapping in with us to join us as we do this round of 10 breaths to ground and center us in this conversation. We'll start them off now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. All right. For those who don't know who Simon something is, man, could you give a short introduction into who you are, what you're into?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, my name's Simon something. Charlotte native. Um, Started DJing when I was a teenager after playing instruments for years, and just that love of music transferred over to producing as well as rapping when I was younger. But over the years, I just started focusing more on like the producing side of things, DJing, engineering, as well as running a collective based out of Charlotte by the name of Vacation Pay.
Vacation
Uh,
Pay, man. Shout out to
yeah,
Vacation Pay. Good parties, man.
yeah, thank you. And really, just I moved around a lot when I was a younger adult, and I had like the opportunity to see a lot of cool shows, a lot of like just good events and things, as well as bad ones, just in different parts of the
Mhm.
country. And coming back here, I felt it was important to use that knowledge to help push the producers and more forward thinking artists, or just artists who may not fit into a lot of the more
Traditional,
yeah
traditional.
yeah
You want to. I've noticed that you have kind of been a champion of the smart nerdy black kid, man.
yeah got to.
Yeah. And that was me when I was growing up. But niggas in the hood beat that shit out of me quickly, you know.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
ended up taking another route. But I've always been, that's where the Spaceman Jones name come from, man. I was obsessed with Ray Bradbury and Isaac Asimov as a kid, and watching Star Trek. I always wanted to be up in space. So I definitely salute you for being. That's something that I wish that we could have had. I'm 42. I wish I could have had that in my generation. The space to just be a little weird sci-fi kid. You know what I'm saying? Instead of having to like mold myself under the form of some gangster. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
shout out, man, to you to be able to stay true. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, like a huge part of that in my life. Like I said, I started DJing when I was younger, and it was at that time in life where like you're growing up in like a certain just situation, lifestyle, and it's either like you're gonna start doing positive things or just kind of spiral downwards. And No, thankfully, like I was lucky enough to get put into like a DJing program for young adults, and it was just it was good having something to care about, at that time period. I feel like a lot of bad habits or just bad situations come from people not having something that they're passionate about at the time or
Yeah,
able to pursue fully.
yeah,
So
man.
luckily I was able to just dive head first in DJing and just take it
That
from
kind of
there.
kept you out of the streets
Yeah.
because being from Charlotte, man, it's real easy. Really for any Black American male that lives in any kind of urban setting. You know what I'm saying? And we all know uh, uh, that the hood got a lot of bullshit in it. You know that you can fall victim to. I think that a lot of times, man, we are expected to do a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like we expected to, run around and hustle and a lot of those things. But I really do believe that if we're able to get people into programs, to kind of build up and nurture that artful side, I think that we would have a lot less problems in the streets. Because I know when I was growing up, it was not valuable. You know,
Mm.
it wasn't real valuable. You could be. It was a lot of guys I knew in band through school, but a lot of times, man, even making it through high school was tough. Um, just with the pressure to kind of like where I was at, the pressure to be in the streets was tremendous. Not from my parents, not from the older generation, but just from the peer group. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? The pressure to be in the streets was tremendous. I wish that I could have had man something like that. When I was growing up.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, yeah, and it's wild to me, when I see more and more schools like dropping their music programs or art programs, like the things that like truly, really matter, just as much as arithmetic or science and everything else,
Yeah,
It's always been strange that art has been looked at as an elective when it's something that's so vital to just
it's
all
it's
cultures.
well, it's vital to. I think that art is vital to the human psyche, psychologically, and then spiritually and
Hmm.
emotionally. Art
Yeah,
and music are, to me, they're more important. Uh, they're more important because without like the world can run like we got a world running right now, kind of like a mechanical world. It's all math and
mm,
science and numbers and measurements and kind of the rubber meets the road of like engineering and it's more about like that stuff instead of like the internal stuff. It's about getting things to places or
yeah,
making things instead of like creating these emotional moments that kind of because art kind of expresses things that we can't express in conversation. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? Uh, I recently, for over the past few years, I've been making a lot more beats than I've been writing raps.
mm,
And I have been truly getting a real education in like uh, how you can create emotions through music. You can actually create the feel that you want, and that's amazing to me. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That's truly amazing to me. What are some of the ways that creating musically has helped you deal with some of the emotional hardships of being a human?
Oh yeah, I mean, no, I've been very honest. Uh, it's weird to call it a career, but I guess through like my career in music and just in music itself, about the fact that I do suffer from depression, and music has just been like it has been the therapy for more than anything else. I've tried everything, tried being workout free, try eating healthy, talking to who, whatever the case is, any and everything. And just like being able to like create music and art as well as sharing it with other
Yeah.
people. um I had made a just a project like just to kind of I guess express like my own both like, oh, sorry about that, both pain and just also understanding over time as far as like my own divorce. And having like other, men like reach out to me and be like, "Hey, I understand it," or "Hey, I feel that shit," without even having to have words on it. Like, that shit means the world to me.
Yeah.
No, I made a EP just like expressing like kind of like the fury and just confusion felt from like a lot of the gentrification going on in Charlotte, named it Charlotte Coliseum, and just random writer, like a random blog writer, had posted it, like completely understood what it was about without even having to understand, because I named like all the tracks after different like things that used to be in Charlotte.
And it's not there no more.
Yeah, Freedom Mall, Erickson, and or at least it'll change over time. And like it's important. I feel like it's cool to have just like
They,
whatever
and
music.
and I think that chronicling like the past of Charlotte is important.
Yeah.
Being that I'm a formerly incarcerated person, uh, I spent a lot of time with guys from Charlotte. Some of my best friends in the world are from Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? From doing time in the prisons of North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? And I can remember hearing stories of places like Earl Village, Dalton Village, that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and they don't exist no more. And I can just, and then like in my town of Asheville, there was a housing project called Mountainside that don't exist anymore. And and then like Lee Walker Heights, the oldest housing project in Western North Carolina, it doesn't exist anymore. They tore it down. So
Yeah.
so I can understand that loss of landmarks. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of central to people where they live. And even though we are not native to this land, we descendants of slaves. We built all the stuff that you see. Especially in the South.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that tape. I think that was a testament to the past, and I think that we have to have a strong connection to the past. Our present and future won't make any sense.
I think like just like a good example, good just I guess Charlotte thing. It's wild to me like how many natives like myself will like, just express our displeasure with people referring to like the downtown part of Charlotte as uptown. And instead of like people researching why that is, or like, just being, understanding of everything going on in the city, how much blacks are being pushed out of those areas,
Mhm.
I don't know, just it feels off. Like it's just, when you look up like the things that happened with Brooklyn Village, like that, my grandparents were living there, and at that time it was downtown. So like calling it uptown just feels like they're not only
Well,
already like,
they're taking away all of the history with one
yeah,
word.
yeah,
Semantics are very important.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? Um, I was watching the 13th again, and
mm,
um, there was they talk about the language in there that people use, and I think that when they go in and they change the name of neighborhoods, it's the same thing.
yeah,
Uh, they are telling you basically that uh, the history of this neighborhood is not fitting in with our demographic projections. So we need to go ahead and let the past be the past and go ahead and start a new future. And most times that future is uh, overwhelmingly white, and it's overwhelmingly affluent. You see
yeah,
what I'm saying? Uh, what do you think about, like, man, we've been going through some heavy shit this year.
yeah,
This is a super heavy year. Um, Being that you are an artist who absolutely understands human emotion.
yeah.
Just put it like that. Um, what what are you seeing about these events that what are you saying about these events that kind of that stands out the most to you? What emotion is standing out the most to you?
Um, a lot of things. I feel like there's a lot of situations and just things happening that make me very, I guess, content with how things went for my childhood, and just certain things. My parents were very involved in like the local, or at least attempted to be involved in like the local government for Charlotte, things of that nature. So I had to get like exposed to just like a lot of the stuff that we're fighting about now, Black people having a voice in their community, all of those things, at a very young age. Um, it's it's been I'm trying to think of the best way to word it, but I'm glad that there's it will I guess focusing on the pros, I'm glad that there's a lot of people who are starting to truly understand how the world is.
Mhm.
Like even just talking to you, I get the feeling and sense that you have at least an understanding of certain things with this world. Just, things that just aren't okay that other people are now grasping.
Yeah,
People are now like grasping how just horrible it is for our healthcare to be tied up in our like job system.
yeah,
And that's something that from like a young age, I'm like, wait, so why can't I go to the doctor if I'm not able to secure a full-time job because it just costs too much to have on my own, like just things that like both from like going through the pandemic straight into the things that we're going through now, the protesting and everything in between, everything before. It has caused a lot of conversations to happen that needed to be happening. It has caused a lot of people to have to start like really picking a side on things that shouldn't have to really be argued about at this point. Um, I would be lying if I said I was as completely optimistic as some other people,
hmm
especially like because I've been out to like protests down here and just always been involved with always wanted for Black empowerment. Always like it's always something that I talk about. Like me like Phils and just all we'll
yeah,
just a lot of people like sit around talking whatever bullshits on sports center. We be talking about just life and like how to make things better for us as young Black people and stuff like that. So it's good that that's being pushed for right now. But it's just at the same time it's a lot of chaos. Uh, if this year has kind of showed anything, is that we need more infrastructure if we're gonna make the future better for the next generation.
yeah,
Uh,
I, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Uh, man, you said a whole lot right there.
yeah,
Um, and I think that the point of it was, or what at least what I got out of it was that, man, these are unprecedented times. You kind of had your eyebrows knocked back. I think all of us did collectively got knocked on our asses this year.
yeah,
And whenever we got like it seems like whenever I just got a grasp on that we're in a pandemic, you know what I'm saying? The George Floyd thing kicked off, and then like I haven't been able to take a breath all year, feel like, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Uh, um, however, however, I do feel like there's something different. I was around for 1992 riots.
mm,
Uh, I would think I was 14 years old at that time. Um, and it came up and it was gone.
mm,
Popped up and it was gone. Um, Ferguson, what was it? 4 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe 5 years ago now, something like that.
yeah,
Um, no, it was Trayvon Martin 5 or 6 years ago. And these things have I think that we have been in a holding pattern since Trayvon Martin.
yeah.
Uh, they slammed the lid down on us and cut the heat up, and now we definitely in the pressure cooker.
Mm.
Uh, what have you been able to what have you found that has changed in your art since all of this stuff been going on? I know that I have been really making dark stuff lately as far as sonically. Even when I try to make happy stuff, you know what I'm saying? It just don't feel right. I don't know if it's what I'm feeling personally. I think that it probably is what I'm feeling personally about all of this situation is just coming out in my expression.
Mm.
But I've been noticing that I have been really on just some heavy vibes, man. Have you found that in your music?
Well, I mean, just keep it to Virgil's. I hadn't been making music for a minute. I couldn't. I mean, because a lot of my stuff is already really dark. A lot of it's already heavy is a good word. Even if it's not dark, it's just a heavy feeling
Yeah.
to a lot of my stuff. So I don't know if that was a part of it or whatever the case was, but for like a solid little month or so, I really wasn't creating. I did like a charity stream last month, to raise funds as far as COVID, and that was really like the last music thing that I worked on because right around that time,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I have been getting back into it, and I guess if anything that I've noticed, yeah, everything is very heavy right now, of course, but I just feel like now more than ever, it's important for me to be making things that just feel black to me. Um, especially like with myself, like I always like look at my projects and EPs and things like just different colors. Last project I put out, I was going just for like a seafoam green feeling. That's really how I just like look at things, and like everything recently has just been black, just heavy, and so. Yeah, I definitely understand. I feel like that's probably happening to a lot of people right now, whether they're musicians or they're photographers or dancers, whatever the case is. I feel like a lot of people's output is probably going to be a little dark and heavy right now.
Yeah.
Good art reflects the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All right. You being from Charlotte, from the South, and you make predominantly electronic music, right? And I'm seeing like a big rift between some of the older generation and the younger generation as far as sonically wise. I saw an interesting conversation with the guy who was just tearing to shreds people who don't use like samples in their music or live instrumentation. Um, I myself thought he was a little bit overboard. I mean, everybody don't have to have, this huge professional sound in order for it to be a viable creation. Um, what is your feeling? What is your feeling about that type of struggle within the artist community between the older fellas like and the younger guys? And hip hop is like very very riddled with this idea that I think that we're the only genre of music who actually absolutely discards our older creators. We don't look up to them. We don't venerate them. We tell them to get the fuck out of here. How do you feel about that?
well, I mean, it's something I've experienced myself. Like I was super heavy on SoundCloud back in like the 1.0, 2.0 days. And like there was times where like like older producers would just kind of talk down on me for using Fruity Loops, for like using that little software, to the point like I'd actually collaborated with this dude, super gearhead, had all the SPs and MPs and
Yeah.
stuff. Collaborated on a track, put it out, perfectly fine. I think he saw like I posted on my Facebook or something, just talking about Fruity Loops, saying that I was using Fruity Loops. Did not want to work anymore afterwards.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So yeah, I've experienced it. Believe me.
Yeah. I
And
think that.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. No, just to say that, like, I don't really see why anybody needs to like try and down someone's like means of creating. Like one of my favorite producers, Burial, like for like an important ass project, like a really culturally defining project that he put out, he only used like Cool Edit Pro on it. Like just like a simple little like arranger, not even like a full fledged DAW. But it's
Yeah.
an amazing album. You know, like it doesn't matter what you use. Like there's loads of people with like thousands of dollars of gear in their home studios who suck.
Suck bad. Suck terribly bad.
Yeah.
Terribly
So
bad. Yeah. It's all about the soul, man. Mad Lib and Freddie Gibbs, man, they last joint was made on the iPhone.
yeah.
Mad Lib made all those beats on the iPhone, and a lot of people didn't like it because he had 808s and those tiny little trap hats in there. And I'm just like, who cares? I mean, who cares? I really feel like some of and you get it from young guys too who cannot stand to hear something that has a BPM of maybe 87 or 88, real crit like dusty drums. Why don't you hear this old ass shit? I work with some younger guys and I try to turn them on to that type of production, and the response is, man, ain't nobody trying to hear that old ass shit. So I think that across lines, man, I think it's just an age old kind of thing that that youth and old don't really mix together. You know what I'm saying? And it really hasn't, not over time. But I feel like if we can continue to have conversations and at least make music in these small pockets, the people who are kind of on one side or the other, they'll be what they are as long as guys can meet in the middle. I think it'll be fine.
Absolutely. You know, and like I always like seeing situations where someone like, Juicy J, who's been in the game for decades, still working with young people. Or
Hmm.
Alchemist, still working with like hella young people. Like that's always good to see that there are, on both sides, people who can tap in, across
Yeah.
that age
And
gap.
I think that Jay-Z is a great example of that. You know what I'm saying? He try to keep his finger right there on the pulse of what the youth has going on,
Yeah.
and I think he spends a lot of time like catching the vibe of the youth. I think that's important.
Yeah.
A lot of guys don't want to understand. They'll rather have you to understand them instead of understanding you. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's all the world over. You got people that do that crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so what are you listening to these days?
What am I listening to? Honestly, like recently, I've kind of just been throwing it on different house music playlists.
Mhm.
Usually, like when I'm a lot of times when I'm like working on things, which I am trying to get this next project finished. I'm not as much of an active listener as what if I'm just doing whatever. So a lot of the things I've been listening to have just been background type things. With that being said, I haven't listened to a lot of Chicano Batman. Uh, it is a really great band. Just like the rhythms that they are able to put into their music are amazing. And I'm not really a fluent Spanish speaker by any means, but I can still like feel what their songs are about.
Yeah.
Just they're empower. It's empowering music. It's good stuff. What else I've been going back and listening to a lot of Blue's older work. Like Below the Heavens and Her Favorite Color, his older mixtapes and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Blue will always be one of my favorite MCs of
Yeah,
this
man.
whole
We've
time.
definitely been representing for a long time, man. For a
Yeah,
long time. Super
yeah.
solid catalog. Um, so right now, man, we are in the midst of a whole lot of change, man. What are some things that you want to see come out of this? Because there will be a time where we go back to, life as normal.
Normal. Yeah,
You
yeah.
and what are some things that you are fighting like hell to make sure stick around? And what's one thing that you fighting like hell to make sure stick around? And what's the thing that you fighting like hell to make sure that it gets the hell out of here?
Um, One thing I do definitely hope sticks around. Is just people's just attention to each other. Through everything that's going on, it has been some heavy things. It has been a lot of, just rough stuff. But I will say overall, I see a lot more of people trying to find unity with each other. Whether just, personally with my own conversations with friends, checking in on each other. I've been trying to make sure, just do my damnedest when like I'm emotionally able to like be there for other people. And I see a lot more of that than what I personally was seeing before all of this happened.
Hmm.
Um, but in my opinion, one of the things that we definitely got to get the hell up out of here is just people using like dark times to try and further themselves personally.
Clout
Um,
chasing,
yeah,
identity
like
chasing.
it's like the fact that people were like really surprised by like these influencers going out to these protests with their their little nice outfits and throwing up a fist and then popping back in the car like just the fact that that's even like remotely okay in our culture, that like a lot of their fans probably don't even care like that we got to get that out. Any performative stuff at this point is done. If you don't care about something, then that's your prerogative, that's on you. But I don't there's just that I feel like that hurts the causes and movements that we're about even more when there's people who are like a part of things just for clout, just as you said, or just for like, monetary gain and things of that nature. Like we got to get off that. People got to stop like chasing things that we used to chase so much, we do need just more unity between each other and just, equity amongst ourselves. If things are actually going to get better or if we're going to like make a better normal. Because I don't really want to go back to normal. I want things to be better. So,
yeah. All right. Now, what's one thing that you're trying to get the hell away from here, man?
Yeah, I did kind of combine those. I mean, obviously racism, and just.
That's the word I was looking for, man. That's the word I was looking for.
I mean, I want to, just keep it simple.
But I'm gonna tell you though, man, I've been looking at this racism problem, and I think that racism is a red herring. First of all, it's something that you can't prove in court, really. You can't really. It's like terrorism. You see what I'm saying? Or the war on drugs. You see, we done been tricked into like fighting this mythical thing that can't be fought. And I think that's why we've been like traction in the mud a little bit, not really getting much, because we haven't been attacking the right things. You see what I'm saying? We fighting about things that's like, well, it could be and it could. You see what I'm saying? It's kind of ambiguous, because how can you prove racism beyond a shadow of a doubt? Just think about it. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different factors, but you can prove fraud. You see what I'm saying? You can prove if somebody broke an oath. You know what I'm saying? I think that we're attacking the problem a little bit too emotionally. And maybe if we kind of dialed it back and kind of hit these people for their civil rights violations and for them breaking their oaths and for, some of the concrete things that they're doing in service of racism. See what I'm saying? Because racism is basically just in service of, and I love to call it this, it's an economic con game called white supremacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they use racism in service of it.
Racism exists because of power. Like, you have to have some about it. Like, with our situation, it's economic power. Like they're able to get away with racism because they're just in charge. That there's an authority.
Exactly. But I feel like racism is kind of a red herring a little bit, because it's not really it's what they use to stay in power. You see what I'm saying? They know that it's absolute bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no race better than the other race. You see what I'm saying? It's like we're all like different shades of human beings, kind of like, okay, let's talk about it science-wise, man. And I done brought this analogy up a lot. If it was two different like species, like they try to say it was, then it wouldn't be no biracial people at all. It wouldn't compute. The babies wouldn't be viable. You see what I'm saying? You can't take a wolf and a dog you can't take a wolf and a lion and mate them together and make something. You see what I'm saying? It's not going to compute. They're two different. And that's the way we kind of set up. That's the way we done been told in America over the past 20th century. No matter how much unity language it's two different sets of people. You know what I'm saying? That's the narrative that we done been taught. And if we so separate and so different, why in the hell is it all of these mocha cream babies running around? Somebody telling a lie some damn well. You know what I'm saying? I think that race has been blowed up as a construct. It's been given too much power by people who want to use it in a negative light. You dig what I'm saying? And I see that, and this might get me some heat, but I don't care. I see that a lot of the blacker than black folks is parroting and saying a lot of eugenicists and talking points straight out of racist professors' mouths from the 1870s and 60s in these colleges in the South that was doing experimentations and talking about how much difference it is between the races. I'm seeing a lot of these blacker than black types using the same arguments that was used against black people. They just switched it around, and now we supposed to be these monolithic people, all black, all white, all jack. You know what I'm saying? All of it, and it's just, to me, it don't make sense. What is your feelings about that type of activism? You know what I'm saying? I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it at all. I think that it's very counterproductive, and I don't think it serves the purpose of the cause at all.
I feel it. Yeah, that's definitely interesting, because my thoughts have changed on that very much since I was younger. Just growing up in the South as just a young, weird black kid, I had to deal with a lot of racism and just things of that nature. And I can be honest with the fact that, like, I wouldn't even call it prejudice, but there was just a certain part of me that just wasn't very fond of being around white people at a young age. you know, able to like, you know, chuckle my way through it and things of that nature. It was just always like a complete and utter on guard situation. Thankfully, you know, just over time, like that's definitely subsided. And all that being said, I'm not going to act like I don't understand where some of those feelings come from, as far as just, you know, us keeping to ourselves. And if anything, there's certain things of time that maybe things would have been better had it been that way. But realistically, and especially when we're talking specifically about American Black struggle, not you know, not other places or other countries, but specifically ours, it's just impossible. Like, there's no way that we as Black people are going to like get to where we need to be if we have this mindset of, well, fuck everybody else, you know. Because that, I mean, that's why we're in this situation, because people said fuck us and, you know, put
Well,
us off to the side.
I think people pull this card out a lot. Well, look at the Arab American community, whether it be Jordan Americans, Iranian Americans, Iraqi Americans, or the Chinese Americans. But people, this is what gets on my nerves. People use these like insular communities as like, well, they do it, we need to do it. But see, we don't understand what's going on inside of those communities.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? They so insular. How do you know that what's going on inside of those communities is good? Because they got a lot of money? You know what I'm saying?
Even past that, you know, like, especially when you look at like the, you know, just Black culture, Black American culture, a lot of those insular communities still have somewhere else that they can call a home base, that they can look at for support, for, you know, wherever they, like, their family came from China a generation or two ago. Okay, that's cool, but they still have some amount of roots there.
They're still Chinese.
Yeah, we as Black Americans, we, like, a lot of us do not have roots of where we came from, whether that was from an African background.
And I think that not now. I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no,
I think that us not having that made us Americans.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
No, we are African, like, we are Americans, but our descent is African. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. We don't really have those connections to the homeland where I can say, well, my great grandma's still over in such and such province in Nigeria.
Right.
The Chinese Americans can be able to say, well, I still got cousins over in such and such. You know, we go and visit them. We don't have that. And I think that feeling of not having a place and then being in a place where we are obviously not a part of, I think that has caused, like, across the American Black people, I think that across that race, we are really, really trying to find who we are as a people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We still trying to figure out who we are as a people. But and I think that we get a lot of it's harder for us because we got so many people pulling in so many different directions. And then you get the willful kind of muddying of the waters. You know, that has been shown throughout American history, throughout think tanks, different colleges and universities doing, like I said, experimentation on actual human bodies. You know what I'm saying? And then also programs of psychological mind fucks just all throughout the society, whether it was intentional or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, for me growing up, and everybody know I'm a big wrestling fan. Shout out to UCW. Oh yeah, shout out to Earthy Now, who is also our sponsor. I'm on that sour space candy this morning, as always. I never saw Black people winning on TV when I was a kid.
Right.
Like, all the Black dudes on wrestling used to get their ass whooped. You know what I'm saying? Very few stars that actually was like somebody, you know what I'm saying, you knew he was gonna win the championship. All of the images on TV were of big, dumb brutes that were Black. You know what I'm saying? Just about. You know what I'm saying? Or some kind of slick little criminal guy. Nothing real positive. It was hard growing up and identifying with Black strength. You know what I'm saying? Being like, it's kind of changing a little bit now. I find it like a little bit laughable. You know what I'm saying? For people to act like, we have a real option other than fucking being American.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that it's we are here. We've been here. We helped build this shit. Now we just gotta get these evil motherfuckers. Now we gotta pay these evil motherfuckers back. And that's all it is. It is what it is, you know. I
I feel like a good example of that is that,
it's tough.
you know, yeah, you know, I just feel like a good example, like, you know, when we're talking about like insular communities, like within American culture, you know, like that. Here's the thing: a lot, you know, like a lot of blacker than black, um, you know, speakers, they'll focus on like the Chinese community as being insular, or Jewish community, whatever the case is. But they'll never mention like, okay, well, the Nigerian community, they're also insular because they still have roots to that. If they just moved over here from Nigeria, then yeah, you know, Jamaicans, they're very insular. They stick around other Jamaicans, things of that nature. But we as Black Americans are still Americans. You know, we don't really have that option inside of this culture in the same way that they do to not be insular.
Yeah.
You know, either further than that, like with how off the power balance is, any like Black person who thinks that we're gonna be able to make real change without white allies and advocates and changing like the thinking of people is like is lost. Like it's never going to happen at this point, you know?
Yeah. And I definitely, man, I definitely understand the anger and the anger and the pride.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I understand
Absolutely.
the anger and the pride for sure. You know, I guess for me, okay, I'm just speaking personally, man, and I'm gonna tell on myself a little bit. Like, growing up, man, they had a program in North Carolina back in the early 80s and through, you know, a little bit through the 90s called the AG program, Accelerate Academically Gifted. So I was thrown in a class with, I think it was me and another black dude, maybe one black girl, and then it was like maybe 15 white folks. And that's how I was schooled all through elementary school, middle school. You know what I'm saying? So when I got off the bus and went to the neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? It was a different experience for me. You know what I'm saying? Like a way different experience. Like I was you know what I'm saying? I used to get my ass kicked for it. You dig what I'm saying? Uh, uh, and I guess for me personally, whenever I come in contact with those types, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's is they had the same idea, you know what I'm saying, of folks that folks have of them. Like it's no, you know what I'm saying? A lot of them folks, man, they just as hateful as the people they hate. You know what I'm saying? I don't see how that's gonna change anything. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know why why folks kind of looking at me in my situation. You know, and it's just personal talk. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of hurt people out there, man. You know what I'm saying? That'll do and say any old type of thing, man. And sometimes they try to hide behind, you know, red, white, and blue, or black, green, or red, black, and green. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. You know, a hateful person is a hateful person, no matter what kind of flag they fly. And that's kind of what I'm getting at right now, man. Don't try to be a hateful person. You know what I'm saying? And hide behind some cause or something just because you want to be nasty. You know what I'm saying? It ain't helping the cause. It ain't helping you. You just a nasty motherfucker inside of a cause. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much what I was trying to get to, man. I'm still dealing with a lot of that shit. That's why therapy is important, man. You know,
Absolutely.
We all got scars, man. We got shit that we dealing with. You know, but thank you for talking about this experience. You know what I'm saying? Like this experience of being black in North Carolina in the South. You know, I think that a lot of times, man, we are, man, a lot of times, man, we got it. We got it, man, because I done had like great conversations and great times with peoples of all different ethnic varieties, all different socioeconomic levels. And I think that we forget a lot of times that, you know what I'm saying, we all can have a good time together if we don't let the bullshit come into play. You know what I'm saying? I think that that's one of the things that I'm gonna work on more is keeping the bullshit out of it. You got any thoughts on that?
Well, no, I mean, I definitely agree. You know, I had a very similar experience growing up myself, just like, being in the accelerated program and then, having to go back to, just not the greatest situations. And, just, I find it hard for me to even like, understand racism, even past like the obvious moral implications of it. But even past like it being like, are you a good person or a bad person? Like, there's so many like positive elements to enjoy about other cultures, to respectfully enjoy about other cultures. That like people don't even, like, the saddest part about it is that people don't even understand how much they're just missing out on having a better life experience by being so hateful to be racist. Like this, I go to like different just like international festivals they'll have in Charlotte. Like I went to the French one like the year they won the World Cup. Shit was insane. Just being, just like seeing their culture for what it was, listening to like the music that they're playing, eating their foods, things of that nature. I went to like the Indian festival they had downtown, et cetera, et cetera. Like I always try and like, just learn about other cultures, but respectfully.
Yes.
I didn't go out there and, just whatever, like an Indian headdress, nothing of that nature. Like there's just a certain amount of like respect that people are missing in between each other, which is just causing all those other issues, in my opinion. And like once we get to that point, then
Yeah, I think that a lot, and I think that in I think that in the black community specifically, we have been beat down and hurt so long. We have been the butt and the bottom of the joke for so long that sometimes when we can find somebody to put our feet on, we do it, and that's
oh
usually
yeah, I mean,
outcasted people in our own community. And I think that's what we've been seeing, man. We've been like, I know that that's what caused people when I was a kid, like to lash out. You know what I'm saying?
oh
I
yeah,
sit
yeah.
there reading my little book. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, look at this little motherfucker. Nigga, what the fuck? You out here reading the goddamn book? You know what I'm saying? Shit like that will be happening, and that will make me tuck my book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That will make me, or damn, you talk like a damn crocker. You know what I'm saying? So it make me change the way that I talk because you got a code switch sometimes with black folks.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? Um, so I dealt with a lot of that growing up because I didn't feel the same way. I wasn't hyper aggressive. I was very sensitive. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I did, you know, I did use my imagination, but it was more important for me to be included in like with my peer group. And everybody in my peer group was not into that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of fought against myself for a long time, and I'm very thankful, you know what I'm saying, that I'm able to kind of do what I need. I can be myself now without a whole lot of like feeling terrible.
Yeah.
So, I shout out to my therapist for that. Thank you very much. You know what I'm saying? To be able to cut through some of that bullshit. But man, I think that we can really create a good world, man. Right now, we got the time and people are listening. So let's talk to them.
Man. Just briefly touching on what you just said. People forget, just how like effective like Jim Crow was at like dividing us specifically. Like even past like the human condition to, resort to violence or, just whatever aggression sometimes to deal with like differences in each other. Like that Jim Crow shit was powerful. Like, even still to this day we see it. We see, like just specifically in the black community, just how much men and women can be at odds and just how much older and younger can be at odds, and light skin and dark skin can be at odds, and intelligent Negroes versus the dumber Negroes being at odds, and all just all the things that were pushed into our heads. It's so
Yeah.
much, that's still affecting our
Just to
culture.
keep us from being unified, because
Yeah,
that's a real fear of the ruling class in America. Let's go ahead and talk about what we got going on in America. We got a feudal society. You know what I'm saying? You got a few people up top that got all the power and the money. You got everybody on the bottom that's making the money for the people at the top to extract.
yeah,
And I think that what we got going on is a feudal society, man. And we got a lot of people who want to be like the people at the top. You know what I'm saying? Because they are at the top, so they emulate them. You know what I'm saying? I'm
exactly.
seeing
Yeah,
how much uh, our president is acting like a gang member,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. He's recruiting right now. Shit. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
realistically,
he OG right now. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So the way that he acting, compare that to the way that you see some of these guys that's in leadership positions the wrong way in the neighborhood at. You see what I'm saying? It's top heavy, it's oppressive. Everybody got to pay. They, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, everybody walking around in fear because this person, is got the propensity to violence. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to do no business with him because he gonna take you fast and rip you off. Now all of this, a lot of these guys that are in these positions in the neighborhood are screaming fuck Trump, but they love Trumps they self. You see what I'm saying? Like we got to really look at this shit, man. We got oppressors in our own neighborhood that make us look bad every fucking day. You know what I'm saying? Make the cops 9 times. It is the police, but it's y'all niggas too.
Yeah, no, that's definitely agreed. It's a hard situation because obviously just crime is motivated by opportunity, and
it's motivated by opportunity or poverty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I think that the crime that the government that's motivated by greed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I do feel like when we as a country are at a point where being, a little Donald Trump isn't so effective, realistically, because like nobody, like being poor in America is just a challenge. Being poor and black in America is a death wish, So
it's in it's just about.
Yeah. So like once things are a better place where people don't have to resort to those means, like I hope. I'm optimistic that things will get better. But it is just kind of like a vicious circle.
It is because they just put a study out in Asheville that it takes the average person 51 hours a week. They got to work 51 hours a week to afford a 1-bedroom. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And then we look in our way poor communities, and in order to make it, you got to do all kind of shit and have a side hustle. But what I'm saying is, like, we can make things equal and even. We can make things where it's not like that. We just got to have the will to do it. You know what I'm saying? We have to have the will to do it. We have to have the will to, like, take funding from where it ain't needed, military and police, and put it back. And man, when my daddy was growing up, he said, son, y'all missing out, because when I was a kid, like, they had all of these programs where you can go get a job for the summer, you can go train for the summer. Like in high school, they had these training programs where in high school you leave high school as a plumber or an electrician or a carpenter or an auto mechanic, and you know what I'm saying? You leave and you go right into a good paying job where you can pay for It's not like that anymore. I would love to see us be able to have a common sense way of spending all of this money that we produce in this country, so that everybody can have a chance. Because with education and with actual opportunity, you don't have all of the upset in the community, because you don't have 14 and 15-year-olds that have to help out with the rent.
Right. Exactly.
This is what drives our people out in the streets, is because of economic situations. It's economics. That's why gangs thrive, and that's why gangs sell drugs, because it's economics.
Yeah.
They're not hiring us. You know what I'm saying? We're not able to make it through school because they're not believing in us. They're giving up on us in the 3rd grade.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I guess, like, it's kind of like, in my opinion, like a 2 birds with 1 stone type situation. Like, focusing on, like, people in power and, just who are taking advantage of our just government system right now. Like, once that changes, that's the trickle down effect that we need.
That is the trickle down effect, because they got so much tied into the shell game that they playing. Like, they spend so much money to convince poor white people that it's poor ethnic people that's fucking them around. When you see what I'm saying, they spend so much money on that if they just kind of made shit eat, they wouldn't have to spend that money. It could go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So, man, I thank you for coming on the Smoke Break this morning. I thought that this was it was kind of like going to therapy for me, because I was able to say some things that, you helped me to kind of crystallize some ideas in my mind. I appreciate that just through this conversation. You
That's what
have
we're supposed to do here.
Yeah, man. If you have anything that you're plugging right now, your IG and any projects that you're plugging, now is the time to go ahead and get them pictures in, man.
Yeah. Not too much right now. I like, just been focused on the city, trying to be out there, help. Um, as always, it's Simon something on everything. My last project, Obsidian, is out on all streaming platforms, as well as my Bandcamp if you like to support. And got some things brewing in the future, both for myself as well as through vacation pay. So just keep it locked on those respective IGs, SMTHNG for Simon something, and then just vacation pay for everything else. And yeah, thank you for having me on.
Man, I appreciate it, man. This has been a smoke break with Spaceman Jones. A shout out to my sponsors, Earthy Now. You can find them at earthynow.com. And Urban Combat Wrestling. We are for the culture. Y'all remember June 19th. We are going to be at Hillcrest Community, man. You know what I'm saying? Putting on a rap and wrestling show really for the culture, man. And thank you, Simon Something. Y'all can catch him everywhere, like he said, and we'll catch y'all next week. Peace.
This has been a smoke break with Spaceman Jones, sponsored by Earthy Now and Urban Combat Wrestling. See you next week.